But I mean, you can rebuild from nothing to something. The Detroit Lions have done it, and they're continuing to do so at the trade deadline, which we hit yesterday on Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone. Happy NFL trade deadline, everyone. Um, Big move, I think, for the Lions is they got Donovan Peoples-Jones from the Cleveland Browns for just a sixth round pick, which I saw some people on Instagram saying, like, hey, Donovan Peoples-Jones isn't that good. I don't think that's true. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be pretty useful into Detroit. He's not going to be an Amon-Ra St. Brown, but let's consider the situation here. He was on Cleveland that has sucked. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Quarterback play has sucked. And he's been behind Amari Cooper. So you're not going to see a lot of huge plays from him. But I feel like he was someone who was manageable, and he'll work in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, because I was going to say Donovan Peoples-Jones last year was really good. I mean, I don't want to say like he was a stud, but he was one of those consistent wide receivers that would consistently, get like it was like 2 or 3 targets, sometimes 4 targets, and would always be that guy that they would look for in the end zone a lot of times. Like he was, even just remembering, like going as far back as remembering his fantasy value. I remember he would always consistently get between 9 and like 14 points by like midway through the season towards the end. Like it was just a consistency with Donovan Peoples-Jones. Even though he was projected so low, it was like AJ Green over in Arizona for a while. Like a lot of people would just kind of overlook AJ Green, but homie would have a touchdown almost every game.
Mm-hmm.
He would have like 2 receptions for like 40 yards and a touchdown. And it's like, okay, that's all he did out of 4 targets, but like he was still being utilized. If you give a chance for Donovan Peoples-Jones to like break out a little bit in Detroit, I don't know how they're going to do this now that they have Peoples-Jones. I mean, obviously they have Amon-Ra St. Brown and stuff that he's not going anywhere. They're not moving Donovan Peoples-Jones to wide receiver 1. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Are they going to use him as like wide receiver 3? Are they going to, move him around in like the 4 or 5 areas? Are they going to use him as like punt return in case of injuries? And then whenever the time comes, like if Amon-Ra does get hurt, would they elevate him? Because Amon-Ra isn't always the most healthiest of players just because of how much they utilize him. But I mean, it's all these things that you have to like kind of keep in the back of your head, but I do think it's a good move. I really do. I think it's kind of like a sleeper pick in a way. So, or a sleeper pickup, I should say. So I would keep an eye on Donovan Peoples-Jones. It might be a week or 2 before he gets started, but it might be a good move.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think he's going to be putting up 100-yard games.
No,
But
absolutely. He's never that type of wide receiver.
I think he's going to have some red zone presence. I think he's going to have some special teams presence, and he's going to want to play on this team because this team is doing well. He's from Detroit, Michigan, and he played for the Wolverines. So
yeah, it's like a dream come true almost.
This is the situation for him.
So, and I think he'll make the best of it in any way that he possibly can, which is good because when you have a player that's like dedicated to the team, dedicated to the fan base, since he's from Detroit, you can kind of assume that like even if he didn't grow up a Lions fan, that he had some sort of like Lions love. I mean, it's the same thing with you. Like, granted, you're a Bengals fan, but you still have that Indianapolis Colts love. So it's like you still have that understanding. He went to Michigan, so right, he went to Michigan, right? It was Wolverines,
University of Michigan.
Yeah, so he went to Michigan. I thought for some reason you were talking about like a different Wolverines team that I had never heard of before, but no, but yeah. So like he's played for Michigan. Like he's a solid like guy that you definitely want on the team, and he might just end up being like one of those just consistency players for you over in Detroit. But we'll have to see what they do with him. Obviously, they have a lot really good going for them right now. You don't want to mess with too many things. I think that's why over in Miami, they haven't really pushed too much on Chase Claypool yet. I really don't even know if I've seen him do any snaps at all, really. So, I mean, they're really not pushing it. But I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is more likely to make like an appearance or some sort of movement in the game for the Lions, not this week, but the following week, than Chase Claypool does in Miami. So,
okay.
That's just, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant, but just going off of 2 not great wide receivers, but I obviously think Donovan Peoples-Jones is a lot better than Claypool at this point in time. So,
They're both 2020. They're both the same draft class. So,
And Claypool had a great first year. I mean, he had a decent second year, but like Donovan Peoples-Jones was always that like, he was always like that mid card guy. But like now he's
Mm-hmm.
always still just stayed consistent. So I mean, because even in 2021 he wasn't that bad. So they just weren't really using him because
No.
they had the Cleveland Master Class in 2020 with Jarvis Landry and Amari Cooper and all, or not Amari Cooper. It was Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr. That wide receiver master class. That was
And it's a
before
run
they.
first offense. Like that offense runs
Yeah,
through Nick Chubb. So really
yeah.
no
So
receiver besides your number one guy is gonna have a lot of good stats in my opinion. But
yeah, because they really, and they did that split run where they did Chubb and Hunt for a while. They'd
mm,
just done it all, and like so, I think this is a good move because Jared Goff will probably get the ball to Peoples-Jones, and with Gibbs being the running back right now, they're not going to be utilizing Montgomery until he comes back. But imagine what that offense is going to be like when he does come back, because then you have a split backfield and you've got a pretty decent offense and a pretty okay defense too. So
Jamison Williams hasn't really lived up to the hype either. So we could realistically just see, which granted he was suspended, but
yeah,
we could see Donovan Peoples-Jones take over for that position. I
I
think.
mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I mean, it's not something where I'd be like, this needs to happen, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I mean, you want to give Jamison a chance, I think, but I
But
think
he's definitely not living up to the hype.
Donovan Peoples-Jones gets more hate than he's due. Marvin Jones Jr. just left the team, so that leaves an opening as well. Josh Reynolds, okay, he's
Yeah,
been
Josh
workable.
Reynolds. I mean, they work with him, but the problem is he's very like inconsistent.
Mm-hmm. Khalif Raymond. I mean, there's
But
definitely
like,
room here for Donovan Peoples-Jones to become the wide receiver too easily.
But I mean, like, go figure. Like this is what I mean. Like, I mean, it wasn't a touchdown a game, so I wasn't entirely true with that. But if you want to like think about his stats last season, this is Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like this season, he's had 8 receptions for 97 yards across all of the games that he's played. So, or at least, yeah, off of all of those games, which is insane. So about what, maybe 1 reception a game, which is kind of bad. Some games you got none at all. Career stats last year in Cleveland, 2022,
Mm-hmm.
61 receptions, 839 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
And that was was that
Cleveland.
Jacoby Brissett last year?
It was Jacoby Brissett. But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, he was always like consistent getting 9 to 12 points because I always thought it was like a touchdown, but he was always just getting those like semi big plays. So like he has the potential to do good. He's not getting like 700 receptions and all of these other crazy stats that like maybe Tyreek Hill is getting, where he's getting 12 catches a game, but he had 61 receptions for almost 1,000 yards, 3 touchdowns, which
And
is not bad. And even in 2021, he had 597 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he's not a bad wide receiver if given a chance. They just haven't given him a chance this year, I don't think.
what year did Baker Mayfield get?
I think it was
2020. Okay.
2022. Well, what you mean 2020 as in like the playoff game?
Well, no, I was going to say, I think that Jared Goff is probably the best quarterback that Donovan Peoples-Jones has played with. But he did play with Baker Mayfield in 2020. Granted, that was Peoples-Jones' rookie year.
He didn't get
2020,
he wasn't seen a lot that year. So
2021 was the year that Baker was basically playing injured the entire season, I think.
yeah,
Jacoby Brissett's meh. Deshaun Watson has been terrible. PJ Walker is a fill-in. Like I think Jared Goff might still be the best quarterback Donovan Peoples-Jones has played with, and I think this 6th-round pick could easily be a steal for the Detroit
yeah,
Lions.
I 100% agree. I mean, you just got to give it a little bit of time. So we'll see what happens, though.
Thanks for watching that video, guys. If you want to check out a most recent full episode of No Buts About It, that's going to be right over here. Right there. Check that out. And if you just want to see more short clips, we're going to have one right over here for you to watch. Check out No Buts About It on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts, so you can listen to us on the go. Once again, have a great day and go do something nice for someone.